Hello. So this video, I mean, I guess you know what this video is about if you clicked in, and hello, hi, welcome, subscribe. Today I will talk about how you can improve your photos and or videos in like just a couple of minutes. Not even minutes, just say like a couple of tips and tricks. Because I assume, I hope, I think you already take pretty good, pretty decent photos and or videos, of course, but you wanna take it up a notch. So that's why we're here today. And of course, we're not gonna be able to go through all of the tips and tricks that you can do to improve your photos, because I assume people have different things at home at their dispense, and people have, you know, different skills and different problems as it is with everything. But I'm gonna go through some of the most basic tips that will most quickly improve your photos and or videos. Let's go. So one of the most common things that I see with new photographers is that they don't know or care or follow the rules that, you know, there is. We have like certain rules in photography and videography, like the 180-degree line rule, which is if you have a conversation with a person, the camera should be on the same side of the 180-degree. I'm sure I will throw up a graphic here that better explains it, but if you break this, then it's kind of hard to see, or like to orientera sig, fathom the space of the room, fathom. And the same goes for photos, of course, as well. We have like the rule of thirds. That's a pretty common rule. You know, you have the screen divided into thirds. Your eyes should be like on the second row from the bottom, or like, yeah, the first row from the top, I guess. And one thing that people tend to do the mistake on, and this is my first point, is when they place the subject, the person, wrong. Okay, so I don't have any like photos of me that are that wrong, but we can see like here, if this were a photo and I was looking this way, it would seem pretty natural. I'm looking out on a landscape. One thing that new photographers tend to do is place the subject like here and look out, and that just leaves us, the viewers, with a couple of questions, like why are you here? What's on the other side of the screen that I'm not allowed to see? And what the fuck is happening behind me? If I'm standing here, I don't have any negative space behind me. I have the view in front of me, which I'm looking at. I mean, one thing that should be said about this position is that it's common if you want to create like a mystical thing, like, oh, what's out there? I'm not allowed to see it, but he's allowed to see it. Something mystical, something is out there that we're not allowed to see. That could be a feeling you try to capture, but for the most part, if you're new at photography, just stick with, you know, you need to look into the screen, not out of the screen. Does that make sense? If I'm here, I'm looking into the screen. If I'm here, I'm looking out. Good. Tip number 2 should be lighting. Lighting is very important. I mean, especially for photos, because, you know, photo is essentially only light. Video is, you know, light and sound. But we will start with photos. In this case, I have like one light on the side, so I will get a nice soft shadow on this side of my face and a bright highlight here. I have my lights turned on in the background, so we'll get a little bit brighter, you know. But one thing that people tend to do is not think about light placement, and that is very important, not only here but for, you know, product photography. And I actually have a series of photos that I'm gonna show you, which is like where I have a camera, my subject, placed in a position. I don't change like the camera per se, but I change the lighting and the objects in the background. And this could actually make or break a photo. If we start out with no lights, I mean, it's kind of boring. One light, you get this harsh shadow on the side, like, whew, oh, no. With 2 lights, we have this nice soft shadow, barely visible shadow, but we have this nice lighting of the camera. You can clearly see all the details in the camera, but we're still kind of missing something. It's kind of two-dimensional. So we're adding a light in the background. Just a filler light, you know, just, hold on. I mean, like this back here would be a filler light. You know, it's kind of like adds something to the scene, you know. So we add one light, get this kind of warm light from behind of the camera, but it's still missing something. So we're adding like some lenses and a flower, and you know, all of a sudden we have a complete picture. You know, we have a picture looking so beautiful and rich in its details. And yeah, I guess, yeah, that's 2 tips in 1. You need to light the scene properly, and you need to think about the lighting you want to have and why, I guess. Like for product photography, you probably want lights either from top or from both sides, so that the object or the subject will be lit equally from both sides, so you see the product and not focus on the shadows. With portraits, you kind of want to play around with the lights and the shadows, because essentially that is what makes the picture, you know, lights and shadows and bouncing in, all the stuff in the picture. So for example, if I'm leaning this way, I will have a bright side here and dark side here. That could be interesting in some cases, but more often than not, when you're shooting people, not with guns, with cameras, you will most probably use a one light source, because you want this nice soft shadow drop on your face. It kind of just makes the image or the video more 3-dimensional, because you know, I have a screen up here, because you know, my face is bright up here, and we have the shadow drop over here and over my eyebrow, down on my cheek, and on my neck. So I mean, in this case, one light is probably enough. I mean, yeah, we can test without it. I mean, it's kind of just boring now. Now it's even more boring. And of course, like the second tip is to fill out your picture, make it interesting, have background objects. You know, we see it all the time in films and photos and everything, you know, with all the bokeh and the 3-dimensionality. You need to have clear paths. You can think of a photo like this, like a line. Here is the subject, here's the background. You need to have several things lined up in the background at different distances, so you get a feel of like the space and, you know, the volume of the room, of the space. Here I have a light, I have a microphone, I have a painting, I have more paintings, I have some couches in the background. Yeah, you know, it's these different things and elements at different lengths. Shit. Away from the camera. So, you know, you get this 3-dimensionality, which is just beautiful. And I guess one more tip is to, I mean, it's kind of common with new photographers to use the lowest aperture at all times, at all costs. I mean, it's not okay. I mean, just because you have like a f1.2 lens, you don't need to shoot f1.2 all the time. It's okay. I mean, for once, it's really hard to set focus on f1.2. I mean, we're talking centimeters from being in focus to out of focus. It's crazy. And I mean, there are times that you don't want the background to be all that blurry. I mean, if you're trying to do like a clone shot or take a shot with several people in it, you probably want to have the aperture on like f3, f5.6, just so, you know, you get all the people in a group shot in focus, because it's really sad if the person like nearest the camera is in focus and everyone is kind of blurry. That doesn't make for a good family portrait, friend portrait, several people portrait. You want everyone in focus. I mean, everybody deserves the same kind of focus in a picture. I mean, did we go through all the basic tips? Learn the settings of your camera. No, we didn't. Learn the settings of the camera. It's really important, because you don't want to be the photographer that takes a picture that's really underexposed or really overexposed. That's just sad. I mean, I have mine on the lowest now, I think. No, this is kind of underexposed. This is hell of overexposed. So, you know, just be aware of the settings of the camera. Try to fix it right away. Like dial in the settings right from the beginning, because not all photos can be saved in post. Many photos can be saved in post, and that will be the next episode, which is titled like, if you fuck up during a shoot, how can you fix it? How can you save a photo that is really bad? That could be kind of fun. But just have in mind, like, it's always better to have it right, like, in the beginning, rather than to try to fix it or clean up, you know, after the math, after the fact, after what. So yeah, I mean, I guess that is it for now. Know your settings. Don't always shoot on lowest aperture. Think about lighting. Think about filling up, you know, the background, three-dimensional photos, you know, all that stuff. And think about the rules. I mean, there are rules of photography and videography. Rules are meant to be broken, but not always. Not without intention. Intention is important. Like, if you know why you're placing your subject here, fine, go ahead. But if you don't know, please just have your subject look into the camera, into the frame, not out of frame. That's just awkward. So yeah, I think we covered the most basic things of photography and videography. You know, the rules, the lighting, the settings, the subject placing, the background object placing, the bokeh, all of that. You know, you need to know your camera, and you kind of need to know beforehand how you want it to look when you're taking a photo. Yeah, so without any further ado, that's such a strange sentence, further ado. Thank you for watching. If you like this channel, please consider subscribing. We have like a neat little button over here, and we have a video down here too. Yeah, it's kind of awesome. You should subscribe. Bye.